Hello, and welcome back to the Big Apple School podcast, where the goal is to help you learn English through listening. My name is Benjamin, I'm from London, and I'll be the host of the show today. And today's topic is how to find yourself, or how to find your professional career path. And we have three very delightful guests today. Our first guest is
Ken from the Philippines.
Excellent. Second guest is
Гэri from the United States.
Excellent. And last but not least, we have
Hello, I'm Varya from the United States as well.
Excellent. So guys, be sure to comment and also to follow our social media platforms, including vk.com, Telegram, YouTube, and do add your thoughts, give us feedback, and let us know if you have any future ideas about this podcast, or if there's any particular topic that you would like us to talk about. So guys, let's have a look at the subject of how to find yourself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you what your general work history is essentially, and we will talk about that in detail. So I think maybe we should start with Ken, because I'm looking at Ken right now. So Ken, obviously we're all English teachers here at the Big Apple School now. How did you, well, just tell me about your career path. What did you do out of school, and how did you end up being a teacher?
Firstly, I want to say, modesty aside, because, when I was at school, I really, performed well as a student. And at that time, I was asked by my high school, teachers, like, what career would you like to have in the future? And I said, well, I'd like to become a teacher. And then they were surprised, because a teacher is like, in effect, they're telling me you're too good for that. Well, in their words, okay, not mine. So just to be clear. In a way, they were discouraging me because of let's be honest, the pay is not very good, especially in the Philippines. And they say that there's a lot of work involved, especially if you're a regular school, in a regular school rather. And I heard many things about that, but it didn't, discourage me, because I really could see myself then as a teacher. And so, that's what I pursued. When I went to university, I took up Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English, minor in history.
All right, so you have a really solid background in teaching as well. So, so straight out of school, and you just went straight to,
absolutely. Of course, there were also thoughts of me like, are you really sure you want to take this up? Because, because of what I've heard from my teachers. But then again, I followed my heart. My heart is into teaching. So I believe I'm in the right path.
And what age did you finish your education?
Oh, age. I must have been in my, obviously early 20s, maybe 22.
Yeah.
You see, it's been a long time.
And did you go straight? Did you go straight out of? Did you go straight out of, I guess, teaching school and straight into?
What's funny was when I was at university, I was also working part-time as a remedial teacher. Basically, those who, let's say, didn't do so well in English, I had to come in for them and, basically help them with, English topics. And I was working for one school then. And from then on, I felt, this is really the right path for me, because I enjoyed my first real teaching experience, even though it's just, part-time, but I had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. Well, in the Philippines, generally, there's a higher level of English. Would you say, or maybe I'm wrong? I mean, do people can you go to the Philippines and only speak English and not speak Tagalog? What is it called? Tagalog?
Yeah, Tagalog.
Okay.
That's our other language. Well, for those of you, our listeners who are not familiar with the Philippines, we do have two official languages. One is Tagalog, which is about 40% Spanish, borrowed words from Spanish. And then we have English because of the American, colonization, because we were an American dependency. Yeah. And in the Philippines, of course, we do speak English, although for the most part, we do code switching, which means that we could speak Tagalog and then we switch to English and then switch back to Tagalog and then so on and so forth. But in the world of work, English is the language. In the same way that, for instance, if you go to the bank and you have to fill out some forms, all documents are in English.
Cool, interesting. All right, we'll come back to you, Ken. Don't worry, we will. But so Gary, I think you come from an English-speaking country.
I'm worried about Ken's worried that we're not going to come back to it. I can see it in his eyes. Need to say more words of comfort to Ken. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm joking.
All right, so from kind of an English-speaking country called America.
Yeah.
And
there's a variety of English. Some variant, yes, of English.
And you've lived here in Russia for quite some time. When did you first move? Which year was it that you first moved?
I came to Russia in 1995.
Yes, and what's your general career history? What was your work history?
Well, I graduated. I went to a liberal arts college, which is what you would call here гуманитарное образование, which means that you have no special anything.
Okay, so
right?
it's just a general degree in.
Yeah.
And what typically do you do in that degree? Is it reading and
No,
literature?
you go and do something else. Yeah, you go into business, which is what I did because my family, my parents had a business, and it was a retail business selling pianos and organs, big musical instruments.
Interesting.
And so I was kind of at a loss, we say, when you don't know what you should do. And so I went and worked for my dad in his business, which it's a family business.
And could you play the piano?
My dad was a musician, an actual musician, which is why he ended up in the music business. That was what he loved. And I was not a musician. I took a lot of lessons. I can play a little bit, but not at the same level. If I could play like him, I probably would have gone into the business, but I not close. So in any case, I worked for my dad, and I'm sure I will talk about later, but my life kind of changed. I was working for my dad, but I was on kind of a spiritual path. I was interested in spiritual things, and that's a longer story. Basically, as those things became more important to me, then I wasn't really a businessman.
Yeah.
I wasn't really a musician, and I was going to go into where my heart was again, and which proved to be as what we call a pastor, which is someone who is. It's not a priest. It's a different kind of work, or how you understand it is different for another time to explain. But basically, a pastor is someone who has responsibility over a group of Christians. Yeah. Right. To help them, help their faith, just, to help them to grow in understanding things. And that became what I would do for the rest of my life, which is another story. But I did start in business, and my dad, it's a family business. So what you do with a family business is you want to get your kids into it. And I was an only child, so it was either me or nothing. And it was nothing as far as the business went. And so from a bird's eye view, you went from business into a more spiritual. While I was
would you call it a profession? Maybe not a profession.
It's normally if you want to put a word on it, sometimes they call it a calling.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's more like a calling.
Yeah, and it is a calling. I would have to say that. But it's a calling that you can also practice while you're in business. So I pastored a church, which means that there was a small group of believers that was pretty far from my home city, and I commuted there on Wednesday, Sunday. So 2 days a week I was doing that, as well as working full-time for my dad. So I did that for 9 years, and for 5 years, and then I became full-time doing the pastor's work. Yeah.
Okay. And so we'll come back to you, obviously, to comfort you.
Yes, right. Yeah. I'm even more upset than Ken is. I know how it feels now. Yeah. Just to be left. Yes, right.
So Varya, obviously you used to be I believe a ballet instructor.
Ballet dancer, taught for a lot of years.
Yes. Well, so what happened? You went to university, or did you not go to college?
No, actually, my story starts about 50 years earlier than that.
Oh, right. Well,
Yeah. Because I went to college actually when I was 51.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll tell us.
Yeah,
tell
so
us
I did that later. But what I wanted to be was a tap dancer. Do you know Shirley Temple?
Of course.
Yeah. So Shirley Temple was this child star, cute as a button, had adorable little dimpled kneed legs, and wore short dresses. And I wanted to be like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to be fawned over by the adults and just tell me how wonderful I was. So I told my mom, I wanted to take tap dancing lessons. And she said, no, it'd have to be ballet. So I was 7, and she took me to a dance studio, and I was incredibly shy, painfully shy student or child. And when I saw the other kids and the teacher, I said, no, I can't do this. So I didn't go in. And it wasn't until a few years later when I was 10, when my best friend, Emily Gonzalez, said that her across the street neighbor was going to teach us ballet in her house. And that felt very safe. Mm-hmm. So that's how I started my ballet lessons with Lebre in her home studio.
And so did she have bars and mirrors?
Yeah,
across
her parents allowed her to strip the room of furniture and paint the walls and put mirrors up and a
So
bar.
this was a teenager?
Teenager. Yeah.
Wow.
And so we
Okay,
paid
all right.
her 25 cents a quarter for each ballet lesson. And I felt very secure because I had my best friend and I already knew this teenager from before. Mm-hmm. Then we moved, and I luckily got another best friend named Susan Ward, and her mother was able to take us to lessons, and so I got to start with her because I was shy. I would not have started if it had not been for my friends.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool. And then how did it progress from the world of ballet? Well, what did you do? Any other little jobs or any side? Did you have any side professions?
Well, when I was 13, I babysat and cleaned houses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and made clothes. Yeah. So
you made clothes. Did you have?
I made my own clothes, I should say. I made my own clothes.
Well, that's
clothes.
pretty cool.
School
so
clothes,
I guess you had a sewing machine?
Yes. Oh, of course. I had a sewing machine. I knew how to sew.
Was it old Singer?
Yes, it was a Singer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
Was it electric or did you pedal it?
No, I'm sure I didn't pedal it. No, it was electric. We had electricity
Barbara,
back
don't
then.
be offended. Varya, excuse me. I see twice.
Be careful.
Boom, boom.
My grandma
Barbara and
had that
wrong
kind of,
name, and even giving the idea that.
Yeah. So from then, I joined a little company, a regional ballet. We had examinations where the one woman from London would come and examine us. And I danced in a company in Iran. I danced in Las Vegas. There's a ballet company, Nevada Dance Theater. I danced there. And then injuries happened, and I went to jazz, did lounge shows, did a lounge show on a cruise ship to Mexico, lounge shows that went to, we hopped the islands of Japan, toured there. And so, I mean, I could go on, but.
Yeah. So you've done a whole lot of jobs. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what? I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, don't be sorry. Please interrupt. Please, go for it.
This is what I'm kind of jealous about with other people, because you get to do many different things and you really explored, your other skills. Because I've just been teaching all my life, and sometimes I ask myself what other things I can do, and I just can't imagine doing any other thing, which, reminds me of what my Korean best friend told me, because we're kind of jealous, with each other. I'm jealous that he can he's like jack of all trades. Basically, he can do, many different things. But then his frustration is he can't find just one area that he's really good at, is passionate about, that he could invest all of his time. Unlike in my case. But then again, I also want what he has because he can do many things. It's like, I don't know. It's like, as much as I appreciate my job now and the, career path that I've chosen to take, but I wish I could do more. I don't know, maybe I'm just not giving myself a lot of opportunities to explore what other potentials I may have.
I think it's a personality, because that was the same thing with my daughter. She saw me impassioned with ballet. She saw me every day work so hard for something for years and years. And she said, I'm not like that. And I said, you don't have to be like that. And so it's just a different personality. But if you do a lot of things, or even if you do one thing, there's so many chances for failure. So it sounds romantic, but I don't know about you, Gary, but I've failed a lot in life. You know, there's so many things that you could just like fail at if you do all sorts of things. And so that will play, don't you think? Or are you all winners and successful people?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I don't even know what you're talking about, Varya.
Varya is assuming something.
Man, I don't even know what she's talking about, Ken.
Different cultures have different...
Can't relate, yeah?
Can't relate, Varya.
I was going to say, different cultures have different philosophies of failure. In the American culture, it's okay to fail and to keep trying until you want to.
Oh, I don't know. I think our idea of success is making lots of money. That seems to be in our capitalistic ideology, is if you're making good money, you know, you are a success.
Well, Varya, then I am a failure. Come to think of it, I am a complete failure.
But I always told my daughter, and I tell people, go with your passion, because you have to live with yourself. And if passion is just one thing, it was like for me, then that's how that is. And that's what makes you get up in the morning. It's what I miss the most with ballet is euphoria. I felt euphoric every day. And I don't get that with chocolate.
Wow.
With chocolate. Okay. What about teaching English, Varya?
I will have some pleasant
occasional euphoria. Very rare euphoria. A little rare.
Well, we already kind of hinted at it. Well, you already said you wanted to be a teacher from a young age. Can you remember exactly when you wanted to be a teacher? Was there like an epiphany moment?
Right. You see, the first time I felt that, I was in my sixth grade with my English teacher. She's now working in the U.S. I don't know how old she is, but she must be really old now. But she was my inspiration, because she was like everything that's perfect in a teacher. She always came on time, very well prepared, explained things very clearly. She was very approachable to students, and just her voice and her personality that would really make you want to listen to her. And so I thought, I could be that too. I want to be like her. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure I've reached that.
When you say that is key when we're trying to find our profession, because you have to find someone who will inspire you, that you want to model after, which of course I had teachers like that, where you just mimic every movement.
Right.
And it makes you really good. And then you make it your own, of course. You can't be a carbon copy of someone.
Exactly.
But it's perfect. Find someone that inspires you.
However, I must say, though, that when we were about to graduate high school, most of my friends actually chose nursing as their, major for university, because at the time it was popular for Filipinos to work as, a nurse in different countries. In fact, right now, I do have many friends in the US, in the UK, Ireland, and several other countries, because that was the thing. In fact, my mom even encouraged me, like, are you sure you want to be a teacher? Don't you want to become a nurse? You're going to earn more money.
Well, I believe in the Philippines, a lot of people go into the maritime industry as well. Yeah, like
that thing too, but I can't imagine myself doing that though. So.
It'd be quite an interesting industry, don't?
Yeah.
You mean to be a merchant marine?
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting. I mean,
get on a ship.
Man. Yeah.
Go through
Newport every week. Yeah.
Which is true, by the way. That's
unloading
also,
cargo. Yeah. But Ken, I can see you unloading.
Really, I can't even see myself doing that. But.
Okay.
But anyway, so she was the first person that really inspired me. And then when I went to high school, another teacher who, I still remember her name, Miss Grace Mercado. She was so good at grammar. She explained it very well. In fact, the way I teach grammar now is partly influenced by her, because she really made it not just, the typical lecture thing, but more importantly, how to use like in daily life. So yeah, she's my second inspiration.
Yeah.
So even though a lot of the people in my, inner circle told me, don't be a teacher, but my heart told me, no, this is the right path for you. I mean, of course, I have no regrets. I'm not, I don't earn as much money as my friends who are now working as, nurses, but who cares? I'm happy. Like for me, I'd rather live and die happy than earning a lot of money and not be happy with what you're doing.
Well, I guess you said you wish that you had tried many different jobs, but I think it's great that you had something that you wanted to do and you just went for it and you didn't have to deal with
well, I understand that. Although
error.
sometimes it's just, it's just a thought sometimes like, what if I did this or what if I did that? I don't know. Or maybe I should
But with your teaching, you are traveling with your teaching. So look at you. I mean, you were in Kazakhstan for 5 years. You've been in Russia forever. So, that plays, that adds to wanting to do other things because you're traveling.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Ken, that didn't sound 100% there. Let's try that again with feeling. More feeling.
More enthusiasm.
More feeling.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Work on the feeling. That's better.
Oh, thank you.
But we all have regrets, though, don't we, Gary? I mean, we all have regrets in our lives. No one. We never think we're doing enough. I think we never think.
Yeah,
That's just human nature. I want more. I want to be able to do this.
Right.
But then sometimes I say to myself, Varya, I say,
To herself.
yes, Varya,
Yes, right, yes.
you
Answering
are doing
herself.
a really good job. I am.
And
So that's what
Varya
you-
says to Varya, yes, you are. And you're the cutest Shirley Temple I've ever seen.
And that's when I'm really happy.
That's right. And you've arrived. You've got it.
Well, Gary, did you have any burning desires as a little kid? Did you?
No, I did not. I was a little space cadet. I mean, really, I was just completely a kid, And my parents were busy doing the business thing, and as they, should have, I guess, what should they be doing? Helicopter parenting me. It wasn't even a thing then. And
The term. Well, actually, that's quite an interesting topic. Helicopter parenting. Do you think that it's a good idea for parents to be more involved in their children's upbringing, and do you think that would help people?
While I've got the microphone here, before Ben leaves me for again.
Well, we're talking about career development, how to find yourself. So what kind of a role do parents play in this?
I
or do
think
they not play any
let
role?
kids be kids.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Let kids be kids. This whole thing of whatever the purposes are of what's called helicopter parenting, where the parent hovers over, is over the child's shoulder and pushing them into everything. Let the kid, experiment if they want to, or encourage them in things, but don't, just let them be kids. So
Yeah, I think I was a different parent. I don't know about that one. Yes, kids should be kids. But
unless they're doing drugs.
Luckily,
then you
that's not.
begin helicoptering immediately.
But even with that, if someone wants to do drugs, it's very hard to get them not to do drugs.
Yeah.
So with that, but with my daughter, she grew up in a ballet studio because I had my own ballet studio, and so she would see me teach and make costumes and perform, and then she started class herself. So she got to see that, and I always pushed discipline and being very productive. I really pushed that just by example. I don't think I really actually said these things. And I think I might have said, I don't know how hard your life is going to be, but you better work hard. And that was my message. I wish I had another message. I think maybe that wasn't the perfect message. Maybe that was too harsh, but that was my reality. I think if I were going to reparent, I'd be all lovey-dovey. Oh, stay home until you're 35. I don't think I would have been tough. I would have been different. But anyway, I was tough. I still am tough. Can't change.
But Ben, by the way, let's hear from you.
Yes, Ben.
Hey.
So, well, here I've done so many different little side jobs. When I was a kid, I really, really, really wanted to become an airline pilot, and unfortunately, I had a little medical issue, and I couldn't do that. But it's okay. I love teaching right now. It's a really fun job. But I've tried so many different professions
such as.
So I went to university, did languages. I was always into languages. I was fascinated by languages. I studied Italian and Russian, and I graduated. I didn't speak perfect Italian. Obviously, my Russian was not perfect when I left university, but I had a good enough basic knowledge. And I really wanted to do something to do with languages. And I tried my hand in translation as a freelance translator. But in order to get employed at these translation workhouses or just translation offices, you have to do a master's degree after that. And I didn't want to stay in university for the rest of my life. So I just did a couple of freelance jobs here and there in the translation industry. Oh my God, I've done so many jobs. It's insane. But yeah, all right, let me just give you a brief overview. So I left university. I tried to set up a little business with some friends, selling bicycle parts. That didn't go as planned, but it was a fun experiment. I also worked in the hotel industry, which was actually a really fun industry. Stressful, but fun industry. I worked at the front desk at a nice hotel in central London, and I worked in Las Vegas at a huge hotel. What I liked about that job was I got to practice my languages, especially in Las Vegas. Well, actually, no, and London too. I got to practice languages on a daily basis, and the only thing is I felt like I wasn't using my languages in a intellectual way, and this has kind of led me to teaching English, where I get to like intellectually stimulate myself here, and I get to I get to be in Russia and practice Russian. So yeah, that's the general story of Benjamin today.
And speaking of, teaching English, what does it feel like to be a teacher of a language?
It's great because I've been in so many professions, be it working at the front desk of a hotel where you are at the beck and call of the customers. Whereas being a teacher, you're more in a position of authority. Not that I'm power hungry and I get a kick out of telling people what to do, but it's nice that people come to you and they ask for advice, or they ask for your knowledge, and it's a really nice position to be in. It's refreshing.
And are you happy with being a teacher?
Absolutely. I never. It's really funny because I never had thought about becoming a teacher as a kid. Maybe I even had negative stereotypes of teachers, and now here I am, and I actually really enjoy this. Like, I can't really picture myself doing anything different.
Wow.
Yeah.
So welcome to the club.
So yeah. Well, anyway, so Gary, you didn't know exactly what you wanted to do as a kid, but
right. Yeah. Your question was what? Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah. And I, even after I graduated from college, I had no idea, which is why you went straight into the family business. Yeah. I was not a goal-directed person as such. Not ambitious, not, just floating.
And did you have like a a moment? Was there one particular moment that pushed you into going into a more spiritual?
It was a long path.
Yeah. So there was no one.
No, there was no one. No epiphany. But it was a long, but kind of one-directional path. If you look back, you know, and but it started when I was in college, or even it started when I was a child. I did believe in God, and I'm not sure where that came from because my parents were not religious at all.
Oh, that's really interesting. So they were they secular, or were they atheists?
They were just non-religious, typical secular people. But they're not atheist at all.
Yeah.
And So when I finally did find my way, and even though that took me out of the business, which I'm sure was a disappointment to my dad, but they were glad that I was doing what I wanted to do.
So they supported you.
They were very supportive, yeah. And I'm glad of that because it would be harder, right? You know, if I was fighting my parents or they were fighting me. But anyhow, so it started when I was a child, and then when I was in college, which was in the early 70s, there was I was still interested in God. I assumed, I don't know why, that the truth about God was not in Christianity, just because it seemed sort of shallow or simple or something ordinary. I don't know what. And there was a little pride in it and involved there, maybe a lot. And so I became very involved in Eastern religion. And
you mean Eastern Orthodox?
No.
Or Buddhism?
Hindu.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. East. Well, in an Americanized kind of way. I began to meditate. I became a meditator.
Fascinating. I meditate. I've meditated every day for I think 11 years now.
Okay.
And so that's really interesting. I didn't realize that. What kind of meditation did you?
I did transcendental meditation.
That's exactly what I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and I went into it headlong.
Yeah.
Full strength.
Yeah.
Because I was actually looking for God. In other words, I wasn't looking for some relaxation or to be better at my work or, whatever, lower my heart rate or whatever the things that they were packaging, TM, we call it. It's called TM. I wasn't interested in any of that. I was interested in the God part. And of course it has, they don't put that out front, but that is what is at the basis of transcendental meditation, probably all meditation.
So Varya, have you tried meditation?
No, ballet is meditation. It's definitely where you focus in on the task at hand. And you could feel energy through your body. You could feel your breath.
Yep.
It's like that.
It brings you into the present moment.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. What about Ken? Any experience with meditation?
Well, I've heard that a lot from my friends and students. That's something that I would like to try someday. Who knows? It might make me realize something about my life. And figure out maybe I might have some other interests that I still haven't realized yet.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in what you're saying, and I guess what Гэri was saying too, we're on a path and we don't really realize where we are when we're on the path. But after decades, you look back and go, like I did a good job, that I was going this direction. I should have given myself more credit. And that's what I really want to say to people is give yourself much more credit than you're allowing yourself, because we can really beat up ourselves. And I think a good self-beating is good because it makes you keep going. I think you have to do that. But give yourself more credit, I think.
Well, what does it mean to find yourself? Is there a definition we can agree on?
Finding yourself. I think it's, we have different interpretations of it, but the way I see it, finding yourself is realizing your potential, understanding yourself on a deeper level, more than everybody else, do. And also I think it has something to do with what you do in life, like finding your purpose. I don't know if I'm getting way too deep than I should.
Go deep.
Yeah.
That's. Would you say it's the same thing? Finding yourself, I would say
yeah,
it's
like
the
purpose
same.
in life. Because otherwise, if you don't understand what your purpose is, then what are you living for? Yeah.
I agree with that, but I also think that life gets in the way. So you can be finding your purpose all you want, and maybe you found a little tip of it, and then life will cut it off. Like you could have a pandemic, something like that. I mean, that's kind of unimaginable. Or there could be other things that happen. And it kind of slaps you in the face and kind of slaps you down. and then you kind of have to start over and regroup. And that, my friends, is life. It is so messy. We think we're going from point A to point B and then we'll be happy. But it just doesn't work that way.
What advice would you give to someone who is, let's say, in their 20s or someone who's in a earlier stage of their life who says, I don't know what my purpose is. How do I find my purpose?
I say you don't need a purpose for one thing, and just get up and do what you want to do, or find some kind of reason why you're doing something. And your purpose is going to change.
Mm-hmm. So your purpose is not do you think, could you see your purpose changing? Would you see yourself always being a teacher?
Well, at least for now, I'm still relatively young. Yeah. So for now, this is what I feel and this is what I'm doing at the moment. Although, who knows, something might come up because life, it's one of the, it's one of the characteristics where sometimes something comes up and you never know it because life is full of, surprises. You never know what you're gonna get. It's like a box of chocolate. So but at least for now, I'm happy with where I am, although it would be interesting where my life will lead to. Yeah, because I'd like to believe I still have a long journey to go, and we'll see what's out there. Mm-hmm. And that's for me to find out. Yeah. But I hope it will be something interesting and
it has to, because you've chosen. You already are on your path to doing something that you love to do anyway.
Yeah. Oh, well.
And do we have any role models, any person who we look up to and we think this person had a purpose?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah,
Who'd like to answer first?
Yeah, it's quite...
I still...
Shirley Temple, yeah.
Yeah, well, I at last got past Shirley Temple. She's no longer. But I still, of course, the inner fibers of my being are woven together with the great teachers that I've had. And so I still carry them with me. So I still think of what would they do, what would they say, what would they look like, or I just carry them with me. So I still have them. But at this moment, when I look out into the world, I don't think I see a role model. I might meet someone and say, oh, I like some qualities they have. I might.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Gary, as someone who used to be a pastor, has anyone come to you and asked you specifically for advice and with regards to purpose, life purpose?
Well, yeah, that's part of to the question of finding purpose, in my case, and I would highly recommend for anyone's case, I'll just speak for myself on this though, but that without God, mm-hmm. I would not have found my purpose.
Yeah.
And I probably would have been, I don't know, I guess trying different things or I think I would have been struggling mm-hmm. because I was struggling. And, but because God was actually the main kind of purpose for the journey, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And there is an end to the journey. It's not just an endless getting somewhere or mm-hmm. going down a road. There actually is a way that you do come to a place of finding what you're looking for or being found, mm-hmm. right? That is by God. And that is what changed my life. And then the rest of my life just becomes, well, what do I believe God wants me to do? Now that involves who I am and what I like to do or what I can do or what, mm-hmm. I have, whatever abilities I might have, is to use those along those lines because God's will include those things, right? Mm-hmm. He won't have you doing something you're not capable of doing or that's the wrong thing for you. You'll be doing something that is according to who you are. So without God, I vividly remember, because I lived in it for years, mm-hmm. Just not really having any answers to anything. It was all a guess. It was just all a guess just guessing. You know, I mean, there was nothing solid.
And what would you guys say to someone who wants to go into a profession that is particularly, I wouldn't say risky, but it is difficult to succeed? For instance, acting or being a musician. What advice? Because I mean, Varya, you've been to Los Angeles, obviously. You know the whole city. There's so many actors who unfortunately do not make it to stardom. What would you say to someone who's young and aspiring?
Yeah, I still think that you should follow your heart, do what you want to do. And at the time that you get to a point where you can't do it anymore, you go, okay, I think I need to change direction, then stop. And then that's it. And then you do something else.
And then how do you know, because some people say never give up and other people would say, some people say, yeah, keep...
It's a matter of knowing yourself and making good decisions. And there can be a various amount of decisions to make, and one could lead you this way and another can lead you that way, and not to get hung up on if this or if that. Just make a decision and go with it. I mean, that's what life is, and pretty soon you're just dead in the ground, and that's it for me.
Yeah. And I think you need to be realistic to a certain degree. You cannot just be, of course, you know, when you're young, you tend to be idealistic, like I can achieve this, I can do whatever I can. But, you know, as I grow older, I don't want to sound not pessimistic, but just being realistic. Because when I was younger too, I also had a dream, like I want to do this and that and achieve this and that. And then as I grow older, I realized that I don't want to sound very negative, but it's like not all dreams are meant to happen, but you have to be mature enough to understand that. But then again, you'll need time to grow up to understand
You need to
things.
Recognize your limitations, and that's when you stop, and then you do something else and just be happy with what you did accomplish with that.
Right.
It's tricky because you have some celebrities who were basically bums for most of their lives, and then they reach stardom by
chance,
sheer luck. It's really tricky because we would not have, I don't know, let's say Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash would, I mean, maybe you know the story of Johnny Cash better than I do, but he basically just traveled around and bummed around for most of his life.
Yeah, and then he ended up in prison too, right?
Yeah.
He robbed a liquor store or something.
Yeah, or we have so many other examples. Like, are any of you familiar with Jean-Michel Basquiat? Do you know? Some famous New York artist who draws in a very primitive style. You kind of have to be familiar with him. Let me think of some, or can you think of any other examples of celebrities who had a really rough lead up to their stardom?
I'm not really that impressed with celebrities anyways. I don't really follow I have no idea who's who. As we know, I'm locked into the 80s. Ask me about heavy metal bands from the 1980s, and I can tell you all about Motley Crue and Van Halen.
I'm locked into the 70s. Personally, I don't know why you're looking at me when you say that. Yeah.
Well, maybe not modern classics. What about some modern celebrities? What about classics, for instance? I don't know.
You mean Dostoevsky?
That's so strange. I was just about to say Dostoevsky. That's so strange. I was just about to say Dostoevsky. That's so strange because he was an alcoholic. He had crazy episodes.
But he loved his family. He had he loved his children. Yeah. They would slip little notes under his door because they're not allowed to disturb him. But he was actually Christian. His things were he had centered around God. Yeah.
Any other interesting celebrities or classics?
I'm sorry, but when you said celebrity earlier, and then who happened to become one by chance, the first person that came to my mind was Kim Kardashian.
I was so proud of myself for not knowing who she was.
We're not coming out of there.
It was like 2012, and I was the only one not knowing who she is. Don't tell me who she is. I don't want to know. But then I think I learned who she was like in 2017.
So would you say Kim Kardashian has found herself, or she's just...
Ben, we're going a little too deep here.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the
let's
thing
surface
about
for a minute.
destination. You just don't find yourself. I mean, you're going to find yourself temporarily, then you're going to lose yourself, and then you have to re-find yourself, reinvented in some other form. This it's just not solid. It's what you're.
It's like walking on a tightrope.
I think so, or Jello or something.
Walking on Jello. Yes.
Squishing through your toes.
Just
Varya,
in a
as you
nutshell, what do you know Kim Kardashian's life
Yeah,
story?
I mean, I
Come on,
don't
Ken.
think I need to explain where she initially
we
got
know
her
though
fame.
you got those fan magazines
no,
that you brought
well,
with you from Kazakhstan.
I learned about her because of my students, because she has this cosmetic line, clothes line that and she's very popular on Instagram, so she's millions of followers. But the only reason I thought about her, because you mentioned about celebrities who became famous by chance.
Well, her father was famous, so I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not like she capitalized on that, but she did something else, which I'm not sure I'm allowed to say it here.
Oh dear. Well.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Oh, did she do something on video?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even.
Yeah, I don't think we want to get into
we
details.
don't want to do
We don't
that.
want.
Thank you.
Oh, I
wanna
didn't
go there.
realize that's why she's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But good for her. Okay, so I'm not bashing her, okay? Just to be clear. Good for her that she made something, for herself. I guess she got past that.
She's an artist. Let's just say that.
Well, we're all artists of our own lives.
Yeah, well.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I did not mean to do that.
But are you still stuck on the video or what?
No, it's all right. Yeah, it's fine. Go ahead. Ben, you've got other questions, I'm sure.
No, I'm just transfixed by Kim Kardashian.
Wait, I'm so sorry for bringing that up.
Yes.
But again, I guess here's the thing. Sometimes, as I've said earlier, something comes up in life. Sometimes it may be unexpected, and then you realize, oh, okay, I can turn this into a career, and you could be successful in that. I mean, sorry for the very shallow reference of Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
She has managed to achieve some success, so good for her. But my point here is that I don't think she really aspired to be where she are, or maybe she had in the past. But in my case, life is a journey. I think it's a process of, well, at least in my case, I'm still in the process of finding more about myself, what other hidden potentials I have. And as I've said earlier, whatever it is out there that is about to unfold in this beautiful journey called life, I hope it will be something that is, great, and that, well, more than, satisfying my own, needs, I hope I can contribute something. I don't want to sound like, like a cliche,
that's important
but
to contribute to your community or society or the world in some way.
You didn't just live.
Definitely.
Right?
Well, I've got another question actually. Do you think that by being in a foreign country that helps you to learn more about yourself? I would definitely say yes. I'd say being in Russia is a great experience, and it's definitely improved me more as a person. Would you say, well, Gary, you've been here for a while. Would you say that coming here has helped you?
Well, sure, yeah. It's a tremendous expansion of your horizons. I mean, you have to, you're even just having, two languages in your head, to the degree that you have them, that's kind of an amazing thing. And the two cultures, and it's enriching, there's no question.
It's also, an eye-opening experience for sure for most of us, if not all of us, because personally, when I was in the Philippines, I had a very limited, perspective in life. I thought that life only worked in a certain way, the Filipino way. I know it's vague for you to understand that, but the moment I started, working abroad, not just, for tourism purposes where I just travel and stay there for a couple of weeks, but to actually live and stay for a year or so, it opened many different things for me. I realized, okay, so, well, I will sound very critical of my own culture right now, but in the Philippines, we have a certain way of, let's say, we like children, and we're more about the here and now, which on the one hand, it's actually good because you get to enjoy the present, without thinking much about the future. But then again, I was introduced to a different perspective when here in Russia, people care about what's going to happen in the future. So what I'm trying to say here is that, for instance, in the Philippines, families, they just make as many children as they want without thinking about the consequences that you have to pay for their education, buy them food, clothes, whatever. But here, for instance, in Russia, of course, you have to think of that. And that's why, people here tend to have not a lot of children, unlike in the Philippines, could be 5, 6, or even more because, the more, the merrier. But coming here and also in Kazakhstan, I realized, okay, so that's good that, we also have to consider the future. I mean, be practical too. You see, my point here is that by moving to another country, it opens new ideas in your minds that, you wouldn't have probably thought if you had stayed, just in your own country. So that's why I'm thankful that I've given this chance to myself to see more of the world and understand different cultures. And in a way, it is a lesson for me, and it's for my own personal growth. I discover more things about me, at the same time, learn more about the world, the bigger world.
And do you think there are some countries that are better for personal growth or not? I mean, you've been to Iran and Russia, obviously.
Well, they say the United States is the place for personal growth, but I think,
right. Well, I'd second that, Varya. Yeah. If you want real personal growth, just go to Ohio, for example. Personal growth country.
Yeah. So wherever you go,
corn,
and more corn,
yeah, and personal
wherever
growth.
you go, you're going to grow personally, no matter where you go. So I don't think there is one destination for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say Russia's an interesting place to go. Would we agree?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Here. It's,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go home. I mean, obviously home's great. Love England, great place, but would you say Russia's the place for you?
Well, I'm certainly very happy that I'm here. And if you were to ask me, would you like to go back to your home country? At least for now, I can say that no, I'm quite happy here.
Yeah. It's a fun place. I love this country.
Right. Yes. Ben's living in
in
Ben's little world. It's an amazingly cheerful, optimistic, unchanging. Some would say nothing's changing ever.
Well, I'd say Russia's kind of like the new Wild West. Like there's a lot of opportunities here. Sure, things are not all perfect, but it's a great place with a lot of...
Yes. Ben wins the Understatement of the Week award, yes, perhaps of the year or decade. Yes,
but of course we're not limiting ourselves to just Russia. We're basically
right, yeah,
just like what Varya said. You could be anywhere in the world, and there's still some I mean self growth. You don't have to be just in one place. Every place you go to throughout your life, there's always something that you can learn from and can contribute to your general personal growth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up there. It was a pleasure speaking to you all there today, and please comment on this podcast. We want to hear from you, and if you have any other ideas about what we can do in the future.
Especially if you're in Columbus, Ohio. I would love to know who is watching, listening to this podcast.
I believe we did have a listener, didn't we? Did you say
not just a listener, the fourth largest audience is in Columbus, Ohio for this podcast. I mean, we discovered this together and we were confused. I was very confused. Together. So,
well, guys, share your thoughts, ask any questions. We want you to participate. And well, today we talked about how to find yourself. So would we agree that we found a solution as to how to find ourselves? I would say it's like Varya said, it's not a single point A to B solution.
Right. There is no solution. That's the secret. There's no solution.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's basically it. So, all right, guys, find us on our website, www.BigAppleSchool.com. There on the website, you can find other interesting podcasts like this one. And you can also find interesting articles which are there to help you improve your English. And of course, you can find more information about the courses that we offer here at the Big Apple School. So we'll leave it there for today, guys. Thank you very much, and we'll see you guys next time.